Imagine this. You're curled up in the back of a beat-up, rusty van, shivering in the freezing New York night, wondering if your big break is ever going to come. You're surviving on cheap hot dogs and sheer hope, thousands of miles away from your home in East London. Now, fast forward a few decades. You're standing on a massive stage at Coachella, thousands of people are screaming your name, and you just finished filming a blockbuster movie where you play a literal Norse god. Oh, and did I mention you've also been officially crowned the sexiest man alive? It sounds like a total fever dream, doesn't it? But for Idris Elba, this wasn't some scripted fantasy. It was his actual gritty reality. We are talking about one of the most insane transformations in the entire history of entertainment. Seriously? You won't believe the journey this man took. How did he go from being a struggling, uncredited DJ to a global powerhouse who seems to be everywhere at once? Most of us know him as the brooding, brilliant Detective Luther or the calculated, cold-blooded Stringer Bell, but there is a whole secret empire behind the man that most people are only just starting to fully realize exists. Long before he was a household name, he was known as Big Dries, a kid from the vibrant but tough London club scene who was just trying to make enough money to keep the lights on. He didn't just walk into a Hollywood studio and get handed a golden ticket to fame. He hustled harder than almost anyone else in the game. He moved across the Atlantic Ocean with nothing but a dream and a massive amount of audacity. And that's the thing about Idris. He's not just an actor who decided to try something else on the side because he was bored. He is a legitimate, high-level mogul who absolutely refuses to be put into a single, tidy box. He's out here breaking all the rules of what a celebrity is supposed to be. You've probably seen the crazy headlines about his side quests, right? I mean, the man is basically a real-life video game character who has already finished the main storyline and is now just completing all the legendary extra missions for fun. He didn't just say he liked combat sports. He actually trained as a professional kickboxer for a documentary and then stepped into the ring and won his debut match in his mid-40s. Who does that when they have $1 million face to protect? And then there's the music. Most actors who try to DJ are just celebrity DJs who stand behind a booth and press play on a pre-recorded laptop set. Not our man Idris. He's been spinning records and producing tracks since he was a teenager. He is so respected in the music world that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle literally asked him to be the DJ at their royal wedding. Can you actually imagine the vibe in that room? One minute he's acting in a serious, heavy drama, and the next he's dropping the beat for the British royal family. It honestly makes you wonder if he's found some secret way to add extra hours to the day that the rest of us just don't know about yet. But look, we have to talk about the massive elephant in the room that has been following him for years. You know exactly what I'm talking about. For over a decade, every single time a new James Bond movie is even mentioned in a whisper, one name immediately shoots to the absolute top of everyone's list. The never-ending will he or won't he debate around Idris playing 007 has become a cultural phenomenon all on its own. Rumors have haunted his career for so long that they've almost become a secondary part of his public identity. People are absolutely obsessed with the idea of him in that iconic tuxedo, sipping a martini, but the reality behind the scenes is much more complicated than a simple casting choice. We're going to unpack all that spicy tea later, but for now, just think about the sheer pressure of having an entire planet constantly asking you if you're going to be the next biggest spy in the history of cinema. Is he an actor who happens to DJ, or is he a world-class DJ who just happens to be a top-tier Hollywood A-lister? This multifaceted, non-stop grind is exactly what makes him so unique in a world of one-hit wonders. He doesn't just stick to the script, he's out here building a massive production company called Green Door Pictures, launching high-end fashion lines, and proving that a leading man doesn't have to follow a traditional path to stay relevant. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We really want to know which part of the world is feeling the Idris Elba energy today. Seriously guys, does this man even sleep, or is he just way better at time management than the rest of the planet combined? It feels like every time we turn around, he's starting a new venture, mastering a new skill, or surprising us with a hidden talent. You won't believe the level of pure, unadulterated dedication it took to get where he is today. And we are just getting started with this incredible journey. Let's look at how he actually built this legendary status from the ground up, starting with the moments that changed everything. To really understand how he became this icon, we have to look back at the legendary Big Drees era. Imagine a young Idris long before the tailored designer suits and the glittering red carpets, lugging heavy crates of vinyl records through the rain-soaked streets of East London. He wasn't just playing music back then, he was building a survival foundation. He took every single job he could find, from working on the assembly line at the Ford factory just like his father, to performing in tiny smoke-filled underground clubs where half the audience didn't even bother to look at the DJ booth. This was the raw, unpolished Idris, a man driven by a deep-seated hunger that most people simply don't have the stomach for. He wasn't waiting for permission to be great, he was out there creating his own opportunities during a time when the UK industry wasn't exactly opening doors for a young black man with massive world-changing ambitions. But then came the gamble that would change everything and eventually lead him to the global stage. Can you actually imagine the guts it took to leave your home, your family, and your safety net to move to New York City with basically nothing in your pockets? We're talking about a guy who ended up working as a bouncer at Caroline's Comedy Club on Broadway just to keep his head above water. Imagine being a regular patron there, walking right past this tall, imposing guy at the door, having absolutely no idea you were looking at a future global superstar and a Marvel legend. He was literally checking IDs and handling rowdy crowds while watching some of the world's biggest comedians perform every night. He was absorbing their timing, their stage presence, and their charisma, all while he was struggling to find enough money for a decent meal. There were nights when that van we mentioned earlier wasn't just a vehicle. It was his only sanctuary from the cold. It was during this period of extreme character-building pressure that he finally landed the role of a lifetime. When the show The Wire hit the screens, the entire world was introduced to the character of Stringer Bell. It wasn't just a role, it was a cultural earthquake that shifted the television landscape forever. Idris was so incredibly convincing as the cold, calculating, and business-minded second-in-command of a Baltimore drug empire that American audiences were genuinely shocked to find out he was actually British. This was the Stringer Bell effect. He didn't just play a character, he completely owned the screen, and suddenly the industry's most wanted man had finally arrived. But instead of letting himself be pigeonholed as the typical tough guy villain for the rest of his career, Idris did something absolutely brilliant. He leaned into his sheer versatility. He became the receipts-holding king of range. One minute, he's the stoic, all-seeing Heimdall in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, guarding the Rainbow Bridge with that unmistakable booming voice. And the next, he's the messy, brilliant, and tortured Detective John Luther, hunting down the most terrifying serial killers in the dark, gritty alleys of London. He even voiced iconic characters for Disney in movies like Zootopia and The Jungle Book, showing he could dominate the box office without even being seen on screen. But hold on, because the non-stop grind didn't stop at acting. Idris has always been a visionary businessman at heart. He founded his own production company, Green Door Pictures, because he wanted to tell stories that the mainstream was ignoring. He didn't want to just wait for the phone to ring with offers. He wanted to be the one making the calls and hiring the talent. And let's not forget his move into the high-stakes world of fashion. He carries himself with a certain drip that most people can only dream of, and he turned that personal style into a legitimate fashion empire. Of course, with that level of dizzying success comes the nasty rumors that seem to follow him everywhere. We have to talk about the James Bond situation again. Why did he seemingly walk away from the most coveted role in all of cinema? Industry whispers suggest it wasn't just about his busy schedule or the money. It was the intense, sometimes toxic pressure from the public discourse. Some fans were completely obsessed with the idea, while others were, well, let's just say they were less than welcoming. Can you really blame him for wanting to keep his creative freedom? He didn't want to be defined by a single character for the next 15 years of his life. He wanted to be himself, and being himself meant returning to his first true love, the music. For years, the industry skeptics didn't take him seriously as a DJ. They called him a hobbyist or a celebrity gimmick who was just playing around. But Idris put in the hard work, playing the trenches of the house and techno scene without any special treatment. He proved every single hater wrong when he finally took the massive stage at Coachella. He wasn't there as a movie star, he was there as a world-class performer who knew exactly how to control a crowd of thousands. The journey from the small London clubs to the desert of India was long and grueling, but he made it look effortless. But wait, what are people actually saying about this legendary run now? Is he truly the greatest of all time? Or are there cracks appearing appearing in the armor. Everyone has an opinion, and things are about to get even more interesting as we look at his lasting legacy. So after all those years of grinding, what's the real internet verdict on our man Idris? If you scroll through X or dive into TikTok, the debate is electric. One camp calls him undisputed GOAT of longevity, pointing to his decades at the top without losing his cool factor. But the skeptics wonder if he's spread himself too thin. Can one person really be an elite actor, world-class DJ, fashion mogul, and kickboxer? Most agree on one thing: you can't ignore him. He has a magnetic, gravitational pull that keeps us all watching. Whether he's staring down a villain on a movie poster or dropping bass lines behind a turntable in a sweaty club. And we absolutely have to talk about that spicy elephant in the room, the James Bond fatigue. Tired of the headlines yet? For over a decade, every time a new 007 movie is mentioned, Idris is the first name mentioned. Even his die-hard supporters are posting exhausted memes now. Some critics say he's past the age for a multi-film deal, while others argue he's the only one who could have saved a stale franchise. But Idris seems over it. He's hinted in interviews that the obsession with his race and the role became more of a political burden than a creative opportunity. The Bond label felt like a cage he was trying to break out of, and can you blame him? He's already played iconic roles that carry just as much weight without all that baggage. If Bond is off the table, what's next on the Idris Elba bingo card? The speculation station is at full steam. Rumors suggest he might be eyeing a move into politics. Imagine President Elba, with his natural charisma and increasing focus on social issues via green door pictures. It is not that far-fetched anymore. Others are betting on him becoming the next heavyweight Hollywood director. He's already directed the film Yardie, and industry buzz says he's hungry for more control behind the lens. He wants to be the one shaping the narratives from the ground up, not just being another famous face on the screen. When we look at his legacy, Idris has done something revolutionary. He's completely redefined what it means to be a black leading man for the 21st century. Before he broke through, the industry often tried to put actors into very specific, narrow boxes. You were either the hero or the character actor. Idris said no thanks to all of that. He proved you can be a global sex symbol and a serious character actor simultaneously. He showed that your heritage is a strength that shouldn't limit the types of worlds you inhabit, whether it's Norse myths in Asgard or council estates in London. He's paved the way for a whole new generation of actors to realize they don't have to choose just one path to be successful. Looking into the crystal ball, the future buzz is all about massive expansion. We're hearing whispers of a full-blown Luther cinematic universe. After the success of the Netflix movie, fans are hungry to see where the detective's tortured soul goes next. Simultaneously, Idris seems to be leaning even harder into his Big Drees persona. Don't be surprised if he drops a full-length studio album or starts his own major music festival in Ibiza. He's no longer playing by Hollywood's rules. He's creating his own ecosystem where he is the boss. Could Idris Elba be the ultimate blueprint for every celebrity who wants to do it all? He's living proof that you don't have to stay in your lane to be successful. The Elba era is far from over. It feels like it's just entering a new, even more ambitious phase. If he can go from sleeping in a van to being a global powerhouse, what's stopping him from conquering the next frontier? Final question: if you had Idris's career, would you take the Bond role for the legendary status, or keep your freedom to DJ in Ibiza and build your own empire? Let us know in the comments, because we need